Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of today's newsletter is going to be, I almost got dumped. Well, I've got a good email here from a guy, because so many of these types of emails that I get are usually after the guy has admitted, you know what, I didn't listen to what you said, I didn't read the book 10 to 15 times, and I lost the girl, please help me get her back. Well, this particular guy found my work about 2 years ago after a bad breakup, started watching a bunch of videos, started getting a lot of success, and then he met a girl that just really knocked his socks off. And then that's when he decided, man, I don't really need to read the book, it's not that important. But what I liked about this email is he literally got right to the point where he realized, holy shit, I'm about to get dumped here. Because what happened was, he reverted right back to his old behavior. All the things that led to the original breakup, which is what caused him to find my work in the first place. Because every week, without fail, when I'm doing phone sessions or I'm doing email coaching, I'm talking to people that started following my work, started getting successful, and because they were hanging out, having fun, and hooking up, they're like, I don't need all that relationship mumbo-jumbo bullshit. I'm getting laid. I don't need to read the book 10 to 15 times. And then it just ends in a giant train wreck. And as a coach, I want to see people succeed. And so that's one of the reasons why I chose to share this email with you, because I know that there's probably a few thousand guys that are in the same situation as this dude, and they've had some success, but things are starting to get a little squirrely, and they're just a little too full of themselves. I even wrote about this in my book myself, that when I really started succeeding and doing well, I got really full of myself, and then my girlfriend basically tells me that she wasn't in love with me anymore, and it was like a smack across the face because I did not see it coming. And afterwards, I was sitting home later that night, I was really thinking about what had transpired in our relationship over the last 3 to 4 weeks, and all the signs were there, they were totally obvious, but because I'd been dating her for quite a period of time where everything was going great, I started ignoring the fundamentals, figured I had it all, I knew all this stuff, and I was on easy street. And that's the way the universe works. It brings those kind of situations, it brings those kind of people, especially if you got weaknesses that you're working on trying to overcome. And that's what you're going to see with this particular guy's email. That's how the universe works. It tests us, it continues to bring us similar circumstances, similar people, to help us fully transcend who we were and become a better version of ourselves, because we have to grow, we have to become better in order to get from where we are right now to where we ultimately want to be in our lives 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the road. So I have a quote that I wrote, and I'm going to go through his email. And the quote says, the universe brings people and circumstances into your life to help you grow, give you needed experience, skills, and the strength to overcome your weaknesses and shortcomings. If you have a weakness or shortcoming that you have not fully conquered or overcome, you will continue to be tested with new people and experiences so you can fully transcend them. Success is great at growing your confidence, but failure will always be your greatest teacher and source of wisdom. People ask me often, how did you learn so much? How did you learn all this stuff? I've taken a lot of action, and I've done a lot of fucking up in my life. And I do a lot more than 99% of the other people that I'm going to encounter in my life. And that's the difference between me and the average person, is that I simply apply better success principles on a more consistent basis than most people. And I share all the things I've learned in my book and my videos so you can get the same results. Because when you learn from me, you're not only learning from my own personal life experience, but all the thousands of people I've studied over the course of my life and all the wisdom that I've gained from them and their experiences. So I'm kind of like the Cliff Notes in life. Kind of the Cliff Notes on self-reliance, if you will. So let's go through his email. He says, hi, Coach. I just wanted to share my success story with you. My name is Bob. His name's not really Bob, but I usually refer to everybody as Bob. I saw an interesting comment. I think it was one of my YouTube videos the other day. A guy was saying, would it be weird if everybody that Corey's answers emails for, their name really is Bob? I thought that was kind of humorous. I'm from Costa Rica, and I've been following your work for about 2 years. I'm a 35-year-old engineer, and I'm successful in my social life and with women who like sports. I like soccer, surfing, and I love to stay in shape and work out. So from that perspective, it sounds like he's got his mission, his purpose. He knows who he is, where he's going, what he wants, and why he wants it. That's a big part of getting your life handled ahead of time. In other words, having a mission and a purpose in life that you're proud of, that inspires you, that causes you to get up early in the morning and stay up late at night. Because if you're one of those guys, you don't know what you want, you don't know what your purpose is, you don't know what your mission is, it's hard to get excited about your life because you're going to feel like you're kind of adrift, if you will. So if you get that part of your life handled, you're doing great. Things will be easier for people that already have their purpose in order versus guys who don't know what they want to do with their lives and on top of that aren't very good with women. But everybody's at a different place. You got to start somewhere. Nobody starts out as an expert. I didn't start out as an expert. Everybody starts out as a novice, and the only way you get better is by taking action. I started like everybody else. I found your work after a bad breakup, and I realized I was needy. I was a needy, insecure, begging bitch. It was a mess. As soon as I followed your work, my approach to every aspect in life changed. I started to eat healthier, I had a much better attitude towards work, and my professional career and my relationships with friends and family improved, as well as my main objective, women. Success with women skyrocketed. I dated 2 to 3 girls at a time from the time I was 18 to 32, consistently during an entire year. I probably dated 20 to 25-year girls in a year and a half span, and it was awesome. I had a great time hooking up with really gorgeous women who were chasing me in person and on social media all the time. My friends wanted me to share the secret, so I did, and I directed them to your work, and I spread the wisdom. Well, I definitely appreciate the referrals. And for those of you that may be new, you can definitely get the audio version of my book. You can go to Amazon or iTunes and check that out. Because I know a lot of people for years have been begging me to do an audiobook, and I finally did one a couple months ago. And it's selling really great, and thanks for all the great testimonials that you guys are posting on audible.com and iTunes and everywhere. Really appreciate that. However, I got to the point where I found the one, a 29-year-old girl who knocked my socks off completely. She's not the hottest that I dated, but she's a solid 8, strong, independent professional woman who manages her own business. I found the same thing. You're going to find, as you apply the things that I teach, that you're going to be dating some of the most beautiful women you've ever dated in your life, but just because she's beautiful and got a great body doesn't mean she's great in bed. Doesn't mean that she's fun to be around 24/7. And you'll experience that. You'll go out on dates with women that absolutely physically knock your socks off, and they will bore you to fucking death. And then you'll go out with women that are cute and attractive, but the more time you spend with them, the more you like being around them, and the more attractive you will find them. And everything in between. That's why it's so important to date and get multiple experiences, as opposed to looking for this one-size-fit-all kind of fantasy where you got to find one person and spend your whole entire fucking life with them. Because in society, they really tend to project this narrative that marriage or a relationship is kind of like Survivor. In other words, you just got to tough it out and suck it up for your whole life, no matter how miserable you get, so you can say, we've been together forever and ever. That shit will shorten your life if you live that way. This is where things got complicated. Since I got full of myself, and as you said in your videos, I did not think it was important to read the book. Yeah, because at that point, you'd hooked up with 25, 30 different women over the course of the year that you've been following me. You were getting success, but the thing was, these weren't women you were getting involved in a relationship. You were just hanging out, having fun, and hooking up, just having casual affairs. And if those are the only kind of dating experiences you're having, when it gets to being with somebody that you really like and you want to continue to be with, you have to have those relationship skills. And you'll also find that there are women out there that don't have those skills. They're fun to date and hook up with for a while, but to be in a day in and day out relationship where you're waking up next to each other, somebody's leaving the toilet seat down, or you don't flush the toilet, or their clothes are all over the floor, or they didn't put the food away in the kitchen. It's like that's where all those little pressure point things come in when you're living under the same roof. The relationship started going well during the first few months, but as time passed by and feelings developed, old behavior started to arise, and even though I knew I didn't have to chase, show insecurity, nor look for certainty, I did it again. Now you say, well, why is that? Why would he revert back to the way he was? Because he had spent his whole life being emotionally conditioned. In other words, he's in his mid-30s, I think he said. Let's see here. What did he say? He was 35 years old. So you figure he's about 33 when he first found me. So you got to understand, he's spent 33 years being emotionally conditioned to think and feel a certain way. And if you don't really own the book by reading it 10 to 15 times to the point where it becomes instinctual, and on top of that, practice what you learn, when you get backed into a corner or the shit hits the fan, what are you going to do? You're going to fall back on what you know. And when you're emotionally conditioned to think and feel that way, that's why you continue to act the same way you always have, because you didn't develop a pattern, and all the other women that you dated and hooked up with, you weren't really that into them, so it really didn't matter whether or not they stayed in your life. But this particular girl, you really liked her, and you really wanted to be with her. Therefore, the fear of loss was a lot stronger. And that's why I put in my book, I'm putting a warning in there to everybody that reads it, that when you're in love with somebody and they're in love with you and you really value that person being in your life, if you haven't taken the time to learn the fundamentals, that's where the wheels come off the wagon. And I talk to guys all the time, and I feel for them. I know what it's like. I know what they're going through. Same thing with the women I talk to that haven't really learned this stuff. If you don't become emotionally conditioned to the new way of thinking and being and showing up, and when you're in a situation with somebody that you really care about, there's a 99% chance that you're just going to go right back to the old way. It's kind of like what Master Yoda said in one of the Star Wars movies. You must unlearn what you have learned. And he didn't take the time to do that. And that, again, that's where reading the book 10 to 15 times came in. He says, you are right. Shit gets a lot harder and serious when feelings are involved. Remember, people will do more to avoid pain than they'll do to gain pleasure. And if you haven't undone that emotional programming, you can't help but go right back to it. And that's why when I talk about certain things in videos and I'm busting somebody's balls about it, it's because I'm emotionally anchoring them to a really painful emotion or a painful action that is not going to get them the results they want. And then I associate pleasure with the things that they do want. So when they think about the old way, it's painful, they'll naturally move away from it. And just by listening to me, it helps rewire and reprogram people. But you got to learn the fundamentals. I consider this a success story since I fucked it up for a few months and I got to the point where my girlfriend was about to dump me. I mean, that's a really humbling experience. I remember when it happened to me the first time. When I wrote about this in my book. A girl I was really in love with. It was the first time in my life I was dating somebody I was crazy about and who felt the same way about me. And when you haven't experienced what it's like to be in a relationship with somebody like that, I was like 31, 32 at the time, you think, I got this shit. I'm fucking awesome. I'm amazing. I'm a stud. You walk down the street, everybody's checking your girl out, and you feel like you're on top of the world. And nobody wants to admit that they're on the verge of fucking up something really great. And that's where it gets really hard. And luckily, he caught himself. He says, I knew it was mandatory to follow your principles, change my approach to keep this woman in my life, and I got humbled, and I understood that reading your book to reinforce all the wisdom acquired from your videos was a must. Well, as I say all the time, the book is the coaching manual. It's the baseline fundamentals, and the videos are intended to supplement what you learn in the book and to help you fine-tune and tweak your approach. And guys that use the videos as a substitution, I mean, you can get a lot of success from what you learn in the videos, but if you don't know the book, when you're in these situations long term, that's where the metal meets the meat. That's where the shit really fucking gets hard. If you're just hooking up with chicks casually, you're not going to really experience it. And that'll help blow your ego up, but when you finally meet somebody that you want to stick around, you want to stick around in your life more than just hooking up a few times or for a few weeks or a few months, that's going to get 1,000 times harder to do the right thing. I've been dating this girl for 10 months now, and everything has gone back to normal. Her attraction level is probably a 7 to 8 right now, and she is doing 100% of the contacting and pursuing again. Well, remember, 9 is where love starts. And if she's only 7 to 8, she cares about you, I'm sure, but she ain't in love with you, dude. So you still got some work to do. If you keep doing the right things, you will get there. But the key is, and that's why I put the attraction table in there. It's in the chapter, it's all in the numbers. Because we're all going to get caught up. We all get busy. We all don't pay attention. The longer you're with somebody, the more likely it is that you're going to get lazy, you're going to get complacent, and you're going to just stop dating and courting them properly. It happens slowly over time. It happens over many months and years. It's not something that happens in a few days or a few weeks, and it sneaks up on you, and all of a sudden you hear, well, I need some space, I need some time, or you get those lukewarm responses when you want to go out on a date, or she's not calling as much or texting as much, or she's not as affectionate when she's around you. Those are the kind of things that make you, what the hell? And you refer back to the book and you start looking through the attraction level table and you start matching up her actions based on what she's presently doing now versus what it says on the table. And it's very humbling to look through that and realize, God, she's definitely not in love with me anymore. As the old saying goes, pride cometh before the fall. I recovered my confidence and control of my emotions, being the mountain that I was during the first months of the relationship. Women definitely know their shit, and I want to remark on the importance of reading the book 10 to 15 times. I got your Kindle version 2 months ago, and I'm currently reading it for the 5th time. So you've been following me for 2 years, and you just only now have read it for the 5th time. So shame on you. You got what you fucking deserve, dude. You didn't learn the fundamentals. But the good news is you're reading it now, and that's the important thing. I have taken several notes of the most important aspects in order to manage the information at hand, and I've watched over 300 of your videos, some of them up to 3 times. Thank you very much for all your help, Coach. This is a non-stop learning process. Well, one of our 6 essential human needs is growth. In other words, that's a spiritual type growth. That's an essential need that we must have as human beings, and if we're not meeting that need, if we don't feel like we're growing in our life or our relationships, in our career, or our businesses, or our peer groups, or our overall happiness and well-being, we're going to feel like something is missing from our lives. Even though I understand all the information pretty well, I still don't consider myself a 3% man. But I will get to that point in the near future. Well, it's always better to underrate your own success and your own wisdom. There's a Chinese Proverbs quote, and it goes something along the lines of, in other words, somebody who is unsure of their own correctness will learn many things. Or as Confucius said, real knowledge is to know the extent of one's ignorance. And it's hard to do that when you think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And the way the universe works, it'll bring you a person or a situation that will knock you down a few notches to help you get focused on what's most important. So if you'd like to get my help personally, you can go to my website, click the products tab at the top of your screen on any page of my website, and follow the instructions for booking whichever coaching option works best for you. And I will talk to you soon.